this week's drive, we survive the year's biggest crash, make some daring passes, get deeply into rallying, and go up and over with the master. All this and more in this week's Drive. Drag racing is a sport where most of the work is done in the garage, and the actual races are largely a question of reflexes and aim. At the final round of the European Championships at Santa Pod in the UK, riders and drivers from Sweden were winning all over. Anders Carling won the Super Twin Bike Series, beating Per Bengtsson with runs of 6.68 and 6.79 seconds. Later in the day, Michael Malmgren took the Pro Stock car title against Jan Muren with a time of 6.98 seconds at 197 miles an hour from a standing start and over just 400 meters. No wonder they need parachutes to slow down. Another Swede, Mika Kagared, was up for the European Top Fuel title when his nearest rival, Lex Ewan, lost in the semi-finals. But he lost a tyre at over 300 miles an hour with this spectacular result. Amazingly, he survived the impact, badly bruised and sore, and miraculously escaped without any fractures or internal injuries. It seemed as though Kagared's chances of winning the title were wrecked. Urs Urbacher had a theoretical chance of snatching the title if he won the event and set a new low elapsed time for the weekend. He managed to win the final, but he didn't go quicker than Leif Andreassen's 5.72 seconds. This left Urbacher equal with Kagared on points, but losing out on head-to-head meetings. Kagared was released from hospital on Sunday and returned to his hotel, but was unable to attend the presentation ceremony that evening. Laurent Aiello had a chance to wrap up his first DTM title at the A1 ring in Austria. The French Abt Audi driver needed 2 points more than his rival, double reigning DTM champion Bernd Schneider, in round 8 of the 10-round series. Matthias Ekstrom started on pole, but ex-Formula One driver Jean Alesi took the lead. With the title on the line, Schneider tried everything to get ahead of Aiello and keep alive any hope of a third title. His eagerness almost cost him dearly midway through the race. He was forced off the track to avoid a collision with Aiello, but he managed to get the AMG Mercedes under control. Aiello surged ahead and was soon in second, gaining 2 places with a brilliantly timed pass as Ekstrom blocked Marcel Fassler's path in a tight corner. With leader Jean Alesi now in his sights, Aiello pushed on towards his 5th win of the season and the DTM title. Matthias Ekstrom, Alain Manu, Timo Scheider and Manuel Reuter were battling for 4th place when Ekstrom spun his Abt Mercedes exiting turn 1. The others, all in Opels, frantically tried to avoid a crash, and miraculously only minor touches occurred. Schneider grabbed 4th place but moved up and was soon battling with Aiello and Fassler in the black Mercedes for 2nd position on the damp track. Swiss Marcel Fassler had recorded only 1 career DTM win and had started the race 10th. A good pit stop got him to 6th, and he made up places as others fell off the road. He actually led briefly mid-race as others pitted, but was caught up in the battle for 2nd. On the last lap, Aiello and Schneider were locked side by side with Fassler just behind. The trio made contact on the final corner. Aiello hit the barriers, but for the 2nd time, Schneider managed to get back on the track while Fassler fought to stay on course. Leader Alesi, wanting to gift the win to Schneider, lifted off, and a surprised Fassler crossed the line in front, with Schneider 2nd ahead of Alesi. The Kart Series circus crossed the Atlantic to race at the Rockingham Oval in the north of England. Despite a sparse crowd, kart management have committed to racing in Europe. At the start, Kenny Brack led from Michael Andretti and Cristiano De Matta. Things were looking bleak for Scotsman Dario Franchitti with clutch problems. The leaders pitted together, and while Brack was stopped, Tora Takagi jumped from 4th to 2nd, taking on less fuel than Andretti and De Matta. Takagi started 4th and ran a strong 2nd for most of the race and looked set for his best ever result. having only had a couple of fourths. Shinji Nakano made a solid mess of his race, bringing out one of only 2 yellow flags. While Sweden's Brack was refueling, series leader D'Amata emerged from the pits in 3rd place ahead of Andretti, who was later penalised for pit lane speeding. Stopping at the wrong time dropped Takagi to 6th. Toro was outspoken about the error, calling it dumb strategy. Frankitti's team got the Scotsman out in record time. While other pit crews shone, Brack's team stumbled. Franchitti led out of the pits, with Brack the last of the stoppers to get away. Dario had moved up to 4th before the stop. Although he calls them geriatrics, Franchitti's team did the business when it counted. The Scotsman led the final 40 laps from D'Amata, Patrick Carpentier and Oriol Servia, the race ending in that order. This win is pretty special. My parents, both grandmothers, my aunt, I think my whole family was here today. To win my first oval race is good, but to win it in England is really special, Dario said afterwards. English ASCAR driver Darren Manning starred in his debut to finish 9th. In fact, he had led for 20 laps during the pit stop reshuffle. For sale, one BMW M5, low mileage, never raced or rallied. Colombian Formula One driver Juan Pablo Montoya demonstrated that boys will be boys during a recent track day laid on for Williams BMW sponsors Reuters at the famous Brands Hatch track in southern England. Although Montoya started from pole in 7 of 15 races this year, Ferrari's Michael Schumacher has already clinched the title. But the minor positions are still undecided. In between his driving commitments on the day, Montoya was asked about his chances of taking 2nd place in this year's title, now held by Schumacher's teammate, Rubens Barrichello.
Well, chances are not the best ones, but it's still pretty decent. It's not many points between myself and Rubens. It looks, quite tight between, it's Ralph there, he's Coulthard there as well, so it looks pretty interesting.
The team's BMW engines are credited with being the most powerful in Formula One. In practice at Monza, the engines set a new record, spinning at over 19,000 RPM, or one ignition every 6,000th of a second. What is needed to match the Ferraris?
Yeah, a car as quick as them, simple. We need to get, a car probably as efficient and as quick. It's just very simple.
What's Ferrari's advantage? Why do they seem faster if you've got the top engine?
I think it's just faster. They got a better package. That's all. I think power-wise, we're probably right there with them, or even a bit more. But it's a lot of combinations. It's not only the power that it counts.
Juan Pablo was one of the world's most highly paid chauffeurs for the day, as he gave staff and guests pony rides on and off the track at Brands Hatch, in high-performance BMWs and miniature off-road buggies. Did he enjoy the day?
Yeah, it's good fun. Sliding the car around is a lot of fun. It's apart from driving the car at maximum limit, it is a completely different approach. Just slide and throw it around and just have a good laugh.
While Ferrari's domination this year has been crushing, it's worth remembering that both Williams and McLaren have ruled the Formula One roost in the recent past. As Juan Pablo points out, 5 years ago, Ferrari drivers used to qualify 10th on the grid, and the team went for 21 years between world champions. Meanwhile, down in northern Italy, they might be dominating the season, but Ferrari isn't sitting back after their 1-2 at Monza. They're hard at work, writing the record book's bright Ferrari red. The team has already clinched its 4th consecutive World Manufacturers title, and showing an impressive superiority, Schumacher set a season record of 10 wins, beating Nigel Mansell's mark by 1 when he took the Belgian Grand Prix early in September. He also has made the podium in all 15 races so far and has taken more points in a season than any other driver, beating his own record. The team's driving force is Frenchman Jean Todt.
For me, the most important is that it's the 2nd race of the season after Imola, when we have a tribune with all our employees for the road car, for the Formula One department. They are all here to see the car. And, the achievement is not only the team you see on the circuit. The achievement is thanks to the team you have here.
Todt took over as team principal in 1993 after success as a rally co-driver and manager for the Peugeot sports car teams. Ferrari was riven with internal politics and wandering aimlessly when Todt's skills as a motivator and organizer arrived, and he built a feeling of family at the team. Rubens Barrichello has added 3 wins so far this year, with the only Ferrari misses coming in Malaysia in March to Michael's brother Ralph and Williams, and in Monaco to David Coulthard's McLaren in May. Todt has made the team the slickest, most successful and motivated family on the grid. But will this family fall apart when Schumacher finally retires? Perhaps. Much of the team has been built around the German. Teams have their places in time, and Ferrari is enjoying a long spell at the top. But change is inevitable. Williams has the engine and can work on the chassis. McLaren has the handling, but needs more pace and reliability. But for now, the record books remain red. Damascus has played host to the Syrian International Rally, round 4 of the 7-event Middle East Rally Championship. Syria only joined the championship 2 years ago. Mohammed bin Sulayem has won the championship 13 times and has won 2 of the 3 rounds so far this year. Saudi Arabian Abdallah Bakashab is his main challenger. As reigning champ, bin Sulayem leaves the ramp first in his WRC spec Ford Focus. Bakashab follows in his Toyota Celica. Bin Sulayem is second fastest on the first stage. Bakashab has the early lead, but the champ is never far behind. Hamad Al-Sawaidi had come from Qatar, but he was out on the first day with a blown turbo. His countryman, Abdallah Al-Kuwari, dropped out 400 meters into the first stage with a broken front strut. 16 kilometers into the third stage, and Bakashab is still in front. Sheikh Abdallah Al-Qasimi of Sharjah is running 4th in his Ford Focus, which used to be bin Sulayem's rally car. But Bakashab's championship hopes died along with his new engine 17 kilometers into the third stage after the radiator shattered. The ancient Corinthian city of Palmyra was the overnight service stop. Bin Sulayem's British co-driver John Spiller supervised the servicing. Sheikh Abdallah Al-Qasimi inherited second place as others dropped out. Into the second day, bin Sulayem could afford to take things easy, but he still opened the lead to over 5 minutes. Knowing the heavy conditions were wrecking cars, Al-Qasimi drove a safe rally into second place. His brother Khalid was 3rd overall and won Group N in his Mitsubishi Lancer. With 2 rounds left, bin Sulayem is within a single point of clinching his 14th championship. He will be hoping to clinch the title at the penultimate round in Jordan. All the focus at the final round of the Outdoor Trials World Championship was on Dougie Lamkin, closing in on a 6th consecutive world title at the Motegi circuit in Japan. The Briton only needed to finish in the top 8 on day 1 to knock over Takahisa Fujinami's chances of overtaking him at the top of the standings. Lamkin fared better than most on a difficult first day, which was marred by rain. The Montesa rider finished 2 points behind Japan's Fujinami with a combined total of 74 penalty points after his 2 laps of the course, adding the 2002 world title to his vast silverware collection. Third place on Saturday went to David Kobos, who completed his 2 laps with a total of 88 penalty points. The Spaniard won a podium place despite finishing with 14 more penalties than his Montesa teammate Lamkin, an indication of just how far ahead of the field Lamkin and Fujinami really are. Fujinami would have to settle for second place overall in the final world standings, but the Honda rider was looking to spoil Lamkin's party on day 2. But Lamkin promised he would finish another successful year in style and claim a 10th victory of the season. Fujinami had other ideas, but a score of 26 penalties on the first lap left him playing catch-up to Lamkin, who picked up 21. Kenichi Kuroyama improved on his first day's performance and took 3rd place, showing promise for next season by recording the best lap of the weekend. Kuroyama's first lap score of 18 was 3 points lower than Lamkin's best, and although his final lap score of 34 cost him a 2nd or even a 1st place, his combined total of 52 was 8 better than 4th place Kobos. Lamkin is now 1 world title away from equaling the Jordi Tarras record, although the legendary Spaniard's 7 championships were not won consecutively. Going into the Grand Prix of Russia, the 12th and final event, the 500cc motocross title has already been claimed by Stefan Everts, his 6th in a long and distinguished career. But some of the minor honours are still awaiting takers. Javier Garcia Vico chases teammate Joel Smets. Smets has broken clear, and Stefan Everts passes Vico for 2nd place. Everts duels with Vico, but eventually drops back. The team puts out a board with a clear message. By allowing his KTM teammate to pass him, Vico becomes the first Spaniard to win a 500cc motocross Grand Prix and takes 3rd place in the overall standings, ahead of the previous incumbent, Monique Barfuts. In the 250cc class, it was business as usual, a tussle out in front between dominant Frenchman Michael Pichon and Joshua Coppens of New Zealand. Pichon already has the world title, and Coppens just needed to stay on his bike to take 2nd place in the title. The pair tangled, and Coppens took a dive, but remounted without losing a place. The day and the season belong to Pichon, 11 wins from 12 starts, and 288 points of a possible 300. Theoretically, 4 men could land the 125 title. 3 of them had a serious chance. Patrick Capps and Mikel Maschio are followed by Steve Ramon. A slip by anyone could prove costly. Pushing too hard, Patrick Capps leaves the track and gets caught up in the protective netting. Out of the race and the title. That leaves Ramon battling with Townley for the lead. Ramon wins, but Maschio's 4th earns him 18 points. 225 for the season, 4 more than Ramon, with Capps staying on 197. The Speedway Grand Prix of Europe was held at the Śląski Stadium in Poland, the 8th of 10 rounds in the World Championship. Heat 23, the first semi-final of an evening's racing hit by showers, which caused track conditions to change between heats. Reigning world champion Tony Rickardsson of Sweden wins from Australian Jason Crump, Scott Nichols of the UK, and another Australian, Lee Adams. The second semi-final. Swede Michael Carlsson wins from Nicky Pedersen, but Australian Ryan Sullivan crashes on the final turn while lying 2nd, bringing down Krzysztof Cegielski. Sullivan, a serious title contender, ended the evening in 7th place and saw his championship aspirations all but evaporate. Watch again as Sullivan's bike trips up Cegielski. Amazingly, neither rider was badly hurt. In the final, Pedersen, starting from the favoured 3rd gate, held off Jason Crump of Australia for the whole 4 laps of a gripping race on a badly rutted track. Sweden's Mikael Karlsson and Tony Rickardsson, 4 times world champion, finished 3rd and 4th. It was the Dane's first Grand Prix win, and he was clearly pleased with his performance, receiving great support from his fans in the crowd. Rickardsson extended his lead in the overall standings over Sullivan. With just 2 rounds left in Denmark and Australia, Rickardsson is now firm favourite to retain his title. Motor racing personalities played soccer against Milan's fashion industry in a fundraising event for victims of September 11. Santo Versace, brother of fashion designer Gianni Versace, was on the designers' team. The match was dedicated to the memory of those who died in the attacks in America and took place on the evening of September 11th in Milan in Italy.
We are here to play against the pilot, so this is really very silly. Fashion designers against pilots, but what is important is to focus the attention of the benefit and try to help people and raise money for the foundation.
The event raised some 150,000 euros for the September 11 Foundation, which gives financial assistance to those who lost family members at the World Trade Center, in Pennsylvania and at the Pentagon. MotoGP rider Max Biaggi dreamed of playing for AS Roma as a youngster.
September 11 really signalled a change in the world, and we hope to overcome this bad mood that hangs over us. Fighting against terrorism is a logical result of that, and people have shown this by coming here tonight.
The event pulled a big crowd, with the highlight being 5 times Formula One world champion driver Michael Schumacher. Schumacher arrived surrounded by bodyguards, but is well known for his love of soccer and plays at every opportunity. Before the match, a lone bandsman from the Italian police played The Last Post. The game began with Santo Versace playing a key part, but there's not a lot of cutting-edge design employed in the choice of material for the team's uniforms, especially the motorsportsmen. Schumacher's attempt at goal weren't always successful. For the record, the final score was 1-0 in favour of the motorsport team. Well, that's all for this week, but so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.